The most common question on the stream these last few days is what were my thoughts on the War Within launch? And the answer is very clear. It's outstanding. It's the best launch I've ever been through. It's the best opening few days of an expansion I've ever lived through. Now I just rewatched my Dragonflight video to see exactly what my thoughts are for the same type of video back then. And I spoke extremely highly of it, and we know how that figured out. Dragonflight is my favorite expansion ever. And a lot of the reasons I liked Dragonflight, I like War Within as well. The opening few days, especially. In Dragonflight, I praised the zones, the music, the atmosphere of Dragonflight, mostly as your span, but eventually I come to appreciate all of the zones, even, some parts that I didn't initially like. And I could not say that there is anything I don't like about the War Within outside of Ashkahet. I don't even know how to pronounce the zone because that's how little time I intend on spending in that zone. Absolutely one of the worst zones, just thematically for me. It's built very well though. Like I would have said the same thing about Revendreth, and I still have massive respect for the zone. So, but when you got three absolute bangers, like I mean, probably two of the top zones ever in the game with Hollowfall and Dorn, and they both are great for different reasons. Hollowfall, I love the striking atmosphere when you fly in there the first time and you see that crystal. It's memorable. You're not going to forget that. You're just not going to forget that. And then Doran's kind of the opposite. Like it's kind of a very generic fantasy setting, but it's so immersive and so lovable. It's impossible to say anything bad about it. And that's kind of why I loved As Your Span. And that's kind of why I loved a lot of like the Emerald Dream in Dragonflight. You know what I mean? The same things. They're so striking, but they're so rich in their fantasy element. And the music. I mean, come on, let's be serious. The music just gets better and better. I would say Dragonflight's music was the best score we've ever had. And I would say The War Within is better. And I'm going to say The War Within is better, but there's no like, this is the best song I've ever heard, like there was in Azure Span. Azure Span has a top 5 songs of all of World of Warcraft. It's, you guys probably already know it. I can't, I don't how to tell you what the name of it is, but it's the song that plays in like the generic wooded zones, wooded subzones of Azure Span. Now, there's one or two that are just stellar. And honestly, probably my favorite one is the one that's featured in the intro, and that's in Hollowfall. And that tells you everything you need to know about that. So let me tell you why I think that War Within is the best expansion and the best launch and the best conditions I've ever played the game under in just a few short days. One, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you why it's actually the thing probably people are going to like the least. All right. But I'm going to tell you why. It's the early access. It really is the early access. I don't know how else to wrap my head around it. The early access, coupled with decisions that they made during the early access, has allowed me to explore the game in a way that I never expected to care about exploring. Okay. So let me contrast this with Dragonflight and tell you why it's better in War Within. In War Within, there is no Mythic Zero dungeons. There is no like weekly objective thing that I need to spend a lot of time doing. If you watched me consume Dragonflight for the first probably 2 days, I did all the world content and leveling. Then the third day, I started kind of dabbling around with some things. But there was that itch, like something pulling at the back of my head saying, like, hey, let's get those zeros done. You know what I mean? Because I remember thinking, like, oh, this would be a big deal to get those zeros done in week one, a couple day one. You know what I mean? Like, it was like really a big thing in my head. Well, thanks mostly due to the Mythic Plus changes, and also because of the pre-order and how they've structured it. There is just no end game content that I need to do. Like it's really kind of sad, but it's also a brilliant strategy. Like I don't know what I'm going to stream for the next few weeks, and that's a good thing. Like I'm actually happy about that because it means that the beginning of the expansion is even less feverish and less rushed than ever before. And I think, if they did like 8 weeks of no content like that, we'd have a huge, huge issue, right? But those extra few days, just getting an extra few days without even heroics, without like this feeling of like climbing this ladder that WoW has really become, was a genius move by Blizzard. And I think it was a genius move for more than one reason. And I think the number one reason, I think this, let's say the second reason, not the number one reason right now, The number two reason is because they knew that they had to put things like delves in people's minds from the get go. So they said, we're not going to have dungeons. We're not going to have like kind of end game content loops that you are spending a lot of time doing even in the first 2 weeks. We're not going to have those things because we want people to spend time in delves. Now, I would say that delves are, from what I can tell, not great so far, simply because they don't seem to have any rewards whatsoever. The major reward that is obvious to me, at least, is to empower Braun or whatever. So if that's sufficient for people, great. I don't know that it would be for me, but it could be enjoyable, especially, I don't know this. You guys can probably tell me the answer to this. Is his experience bar account wide? I assume it is. So that's great. That's one of the things I do like about warbands in that way. But the number one reason why this was a genius strategy and that they should have done this and they needed to do this the whole time is because, as you can tell, they put an enormous amount of work into the questing of the War Within. That is without question the biggest praise I can heap on this expansion so far. And in Dragonflight, there was a great uptick of this as well. Shadowlands was quite bad, frankly. There was probably as many quests that were in the campaign as there were not in the campaign in each zone. And that was fine when you were leveling and you were forced to do all 4 zones. But then they came up with the idea of like, oh, you don't have to do that anymore. So now you just don't do the campaign and you do other stuff. And then those zones, other things, are the things that you end up spending time in, and you kind of still end up having to do at least 2, maybe 3 zones in Shadowlands, right? So in Dragonflight, they totally went away from that, and now they are encouraging you to do whatever you want to level with from the get-go. From the minute you finish the max level campaign in Dragonflight, you can now go and do anything, world quests, dungeons, anything, no requirements at all, right? Now, War Within has taken it to another level entirely. Not only can you do that, you can actually, on your first time playthrough, you can actually finish the campaign and then have everything scale. Now, if I knew that was an option, that's exactly what I would have did. And in fact, the Rested Experience Guide did such a great job of integrating this. I am like flabbergasted, unbelievably well integrated, because they do a lot in Dorne, but because by the time you're 74 in Dorne, a lot of this content is now not giving you as much experience because it's not scaling the first time through. They actually come back to Dorne after you finish the campaign and finish the content you started in the first time you were in the zone. Brilliant, genius. I don't know if it's that Chic Runner guy who's still making these guides, but whoever that is, genius strategy and genius implementation from Blizzard. It's a testament to how well they thought out the process of leveling and also questing, because leveling is not the last time you quest. In this expansion, leveling is the basically early game of questing, right? In the past, it would be the opposite. There would be a lot of quests to do in Dragonflight Post, but it'd be mostly something that you probably could have did while you were leveling if you paid attention to it. And if you got to max level beforehand, you would just go and finish them up. In the War Within, there is an enormous amount of quests, such that I don't see how it would be physically possible to finish one zone and still need another zone. I haven't tried that yet, especially on alts, but I would imagine that if everything scaled, you would be able to do one zone start to finish, and that would be all you would need, especially now with this stacking buff from getting more than one character max level. So let me know if anybody has experienced leveling a second character yet and you have tried that. I will be trying that. But if you take a look at the Sojourner achievements, this is the truest indication of what I'm describing here. You will see that there is, I think, two of the zones have 15. I think Ringing Depth, one of them has like 19. It's absurd. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm pretty sure there's like something like 45. We just did the adding of it together on stream like 2 days ago, but I've already completely forgotten. I think it's like 45 or maybe more than that chapters of Sojourners. Okay. Now, to be fair, this is partially because the campaign has got very, very little to it. If you only did the campaign, I'm not even sure you would hit. I think you'd be like literally 74 or something like that. You'd get almost no experience compared to what you actually need. But that's not a bad thing, because I do think the Sojourner type quests, the quests that are not, integral to the story, are the ones that tell the story the best right now. When you are experiencing the world from the point of view of characters that are not going to be bad guys or good guys in the story and are simply going to be bystanders, you get a lot more enjoyment out of the world. And I can say that this was handled the best I've ever seen it handled in all of, I mean, we're talking about as far back as maybe Classic. It's hard to compare it because those days were so different. But yeah, I would definitely say from TBC and onward, the War Within has handled this the best out of any expansion I've ever seen. And that's simply because the technology has gotten to such a point where they are expecting you to now do these quests, and they still rose to the challenge of making good quests and good content and good engagement for you to do at max level. And the best part about it, the reps are actually quite nice and valuable right now. It's not like it was in Dragonflight where most of the rewards from the reps come at the very end. Like if you did Dragonflight launch, you'll know that in order to get a decent item at all from reps, you had to max them out. Right now, you can get 3 epic items at least. That's all I've seen. I don't know exactly what's going on with the rep in that Ash Kahet zone, but the other 3 zones have an epic item for me as a plate, as a Blood Death Knight, and I have gotten them all because of Sojourner. Just doing the quests, getting rep from the quests. It looks like you get 500 per quest chain at least. I'm not really sure. I wasn't fully paying attention, but yes, I got 7 and 8 requirements, and that's, again, not even halfway through the rep. So very generous of Blizzard to do that. And again, very wise of them to do it during the early access and like that pre-season window there, the 2-week window, because it's like they're actually playing and building the game from the ground up this time. You can actually enjoy all this content, and I think that's the biggest thing to know about War Within so far, and about the pre-release and everything like that. There is absolutely no shortage of content, which is crazy because just said it before. I don't know what I'm going to stream. You know what I mean? Like it's content I don't normally do, and that's why it's so good, because it's the World of Warcraft again. It feels like the actual world of the War Within matters more than the end game content. And I get it, it's only going to be 2.5 weeks or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I think they hit it, like they hit the nail on the head so hard with this, and how many quests and how exhaustive it is. Like, I don't know exactly how many hours I played so far, but it took me 6.5 hours to level. I then played for another 8 or 9 hours on Saturday or Friday, and then I played for another 6 hours today on stream. And I'm going to play probably for another 2 or 3 hours tonight after I finish making this video. And I will not have done all the quests in the Sojourner. Like, it's not even going to be close. Like, I'm not even going to be halfway done from what I could tell. Well, maybe more than halfway done at this point. But regardless, there's a lot, is my point. And that's just quests. That's stuff that's done once, and then you're done with it. And a lot of people probably will only do it once, but you can redo that when you level new characters. That's the true grandeur of it, and the biggest thing I should say positive about the War Within. One thing I will say negative about the War Within is it seems like they have, I don't know why, but like gone backwards in their ability to make key quest targets like dynamically available, I guess is the best way to describe that. We have probably multiple hours of collective time now waiting for certain things to respawn. It was the true downside of, the leveling that as it is. And, it's me just being petty, I think. But to me, like I said this on a full reaction, like a live reaction on Thursday night when the launch happened. And I will say it again today. I will double down on it, as they say. This was a problem they solved in Mists of Pandaria. That's 12 years ago. I know we just did Mob Remix, but you shouldn't be reverting things back to that. That's a really weird thing to see. Like, we waited, 30, 40 seconds, up to a minute maybe on some of these things to respawn. And there'd be like 5 or 6 people standing at some of them. People literally just AoE, like they spawn and they die within 4 or 5 globals when everybody's sitting there waiting. And I don't know why this is happening. So, a very minor quibble, but it had a very negative impact on me the first night because I felt like if I wasn't fully ready for every mob to spawn, it would be like the old days, like in mob, like I'm saying, where you would literally like look away for a second and you'd come back and the mob that you waited for was dead. Or like the very, very old days where you'd have to put AoEs on the ground to guarantee you get the tag. Kind of the same thing here, only the tag was not in play. So yeah, unfortunately, it seems maybe there's like too many, like, I don't know, too many quests that are like that. I don't really know how to describe it, but that was definitely something I did not enjoy. And, like I said, I think a lot of people would probably say that the fact that there's like no Mythic Zeros or no Mythic Plus or something like that, it could be a bad thing. But frankly, I think it's only a good thing because of how well they did in the War Within. Their decision to not include any of this stuff, and like I said, their decision to include delves and kind of get people to funnel into delves and think like, oh, this is the end game content for a few days or a few weeks. They did it well. They did it right. Like this was perfect. You did it perfect, Blizzard. Like, come on. I don't know what delves are going to look like long term. And they're not, like I said, not very rewarding right now. Oh, here's another negative thing I can say, and this is again just really nitpicking. The key system that you need to use to get the good loot from delves is garbage. Like this, I'm hoping I'm missing something. I'm hoping I'm missing something because it really is garbage. You got two. We only got two total, and then I assumed that was because we got two guaranteed ones. Like those are the easy ones. You would think that Mythic Plus or whatever, like delves being equivalent to Mythic Plus, it would be something that you could spam over and over again for gear, and that gear's just kind of worse than Mythic Plus because it's easier, right? That's what you would think. But you only get the two, and then they give you these fragments, which I assumed would be like a kind of a stretch goal. Like, all right, well, I can grind out 3 or 4 if I want to. They don't exist. Like again, I'm sure I'm missing something, but I don't know that I am. And that's a bad thing because I've been playing the game a lot and I've not seen a single fragment from anything. So when you need 100 of something and you can't get a single one of them, it makes you wonder where are you supposed to get them. Now this may be a problem because the actual stuff hasn't started yet, and that will change once the season launches, or even once the the next version of WoW comes out, kind of thing, like the not early release thing. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I'm definitely disappointed with that. But at this moment, I just don't really care because delves are still like they're still fun. There's tons of achievements, tons of things I might want to do in delves that aren't just gear related. But here's another big praise that I can give it, right? In Dragonflight, we did not have the ability to upgrade our gear at launch. This was not a feature. It's not like played out the way it does now until season 2. Unbelievable for launch. Unbelievable. Being able to upgrade greens, being able to upgrade low item level gear with stuff that you won't ever actually need when the season starts. Crazy good. The best thing Gearing has ever done for the early weeks. Like there's actually tons of playability right now, dude. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Even though delves are not very rewarding, they're fine as they are. Even though questing is the only real end game content, it's so wide and so well done that it doesn't even like I'm totally engaged in just questing right now. Even though the gear that you get is like bona fide garbage compared to what you're going to end up with at the end of the season, it's so engaging to try to upgrade and min max his gear without feeling like you're grinding. Like I'm not going to go do 100 normals to do it, but like just getting these small things that I can use to upgrade this gear, unbelievably rewarding. Getting the epics from the renown early instead of late, encouraging you to actually just do the content there and not like super no life it like people were doing, like doing a million hunts and all that nonsense to try to get exalted before the raid opened. Yeah, it's just great. It's just 10 out of 10 in all ways. Zones are amazing. Music's 10 out of 10. Every zone has great atmosphere. Every zone has great vibes. I just don't personally like the Ashka head zone, but it's still amazing. And I'm gonna say the biggest thing that's great about the War Within, Dragonflight preceded it. And when I say that, I mean, because if you go back and watch the video I made on Dragonflight, the same situation, the first few like days I made a video, I praise Dragonflight because it's a recommitment to the basics of the game. And I always go back to these core 3 philosophy points: class design, world travel, professions. Those 3 things about Dragonflight's launch are what made it the best expansion ever in my eyes. And now, because they were so well done in Dragonflight and they are now iterated upon for the War Within, now in turn make the War Within the best launch. Because the class content or the class like gameplay or whatever you want to say, like the way you interface with classes through the hero talents, unbelievable. And you would know this if you watch the second channel where I do the leveling challenges, because I did like 5 or 6 different specs that I've never even played before in my life just to see the hero talents. Unbelievably good. And Deathbringer is the best. Like it's just the best. Okay, and unfortunately, Sandland is maybe the worst. So I can't see myself ever touching that at this point. Deathbringer is weighty. It feels like visceral. The animations are great. The visuals overall are amazing. Like they're very, very good. The procs keeping you on your toes, like feeling like it's dynamically changing your gameplay. Not gonna lie, the tuning very, very powerful. Makes it feel very weighty to use. Yeah, really everything about it is outstanding, and I would have never expected to say that given when they announced these two, I was like, oh, I'm not even gonna look at Deathbringer. Sandland sounds like what I would like the most, right? But unfortunately, that one's just a culmination of very undertuned, zero visuals, pretty much like very poor visuals. You get the underrot boss as a little pet. I mean, that's kind of cool, I guess, but nah, not really. Yeah, I don't know. There's some really, really good ones out there. So if you're comparing Sandlane to them, it's really hard to win. But anyway, I'm very happy with the expansion, and I'm very happy with the launch. And I have to say, very happy with the early access. A lot of people out there complaining about it, and honestly, I think you guys who are complaining about it, like, listen, I'm not gonna say that you're wrong to be unhappy that they did it, okay? But you're just wrong to not have bought it. That's the way I would put it, okay? Is it a greedy move by Blizzard? I mean, yeah, obviously, okay? But is it abnormal? No. Is it, stopping you from enjoying the game? No. Was it unfair? No. Like, if you look at the actual cost of everything that you get from that Epic Edition compared to the regular edition, you're crazy to not have bought it. You really are. And I think there's only like two cases of people who didn't buy it. People who are like somehow pinching every penny about the video games they play. And frankly, if you're in that boat, you probably should stop playing WoW and stop watching YouTube videos and go work on your life. Like if you can't spend an additional $40 or whatever it was on this video game that you're going to play for 2 years, yeah, I mean, like if you physically can't, then you got some like this is a financial issue you have. So yeah, I'm not even thinking about it. $90 or whatever, that's going down immediately. And the other people who did it were just straight up haters, people who were trying to protest. And honestly, the only people who that's hurting is you. You're just hurting yourself. The game's awesome. The early access is not the only way to enjoy it, yes, but I know a lot of people who didn't buy it and they rushed home to buy it. You know what I mean? Like as soon as they saw how great it was, as soon as they saw how much fun I was having, and other people obviously are having that much fun too, I'm sure they're buying it. And it's just it's an easy option because you get free game time, so that immediately reduces it by $15. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The only way you can argue that is if you already have like years and years of game time stored up, and whatever that some people have that, I guess, just through promotions and stuff. Um, then you get all the pets. I don't know exactly what you got. We looked at it on stream the other day, but basically everything else equals more than $40. Okay, between all of these things. So oh, and then beta access, like this has become a channel meme, but back when beta keys were sellable and they didn't have anything to do with your account, you can just get them and then do whatever you want with them. Beta keys sold for hundreds of dollars. I sold them in MOP into WAD for $350 a key. We got a bunch. So yeah, I mean it's not in value. It's not like zero value unless you're just not aware that there's a beta, basically. So anyway, whatever you want to say about that, you can say. But yeah, I think anybody who didn't buy it, I feel honestly like you missed out. You really did. And somebody said, I think it was Tom who said it. It's really not paying to play early. It's basically getting a discount on the expansion to play late. That's the right way to look at it. Because buying it early was just like that's what you should have did. It really was, and Blizzard has proved that in the way they delivered the content and handled the pre-release. So very satisfied with all that, and yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything really. There's just nothing that bad to say overall. Everything's been great so far. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I'm glad to hear both sides of it. If you hadn't had a good time. Oh, another thing I want to talk about. There's no server issues whatsoever. At least on my server. Again, I play on a pretty decently popped server, but not really anything crazy. No issues whatsoever. I ran into the first issue of the entire expansion today. It was me getting stuck in this quest that I didn't realize I had to do. I flew away from it and it kept forcing me to do it, and I could not get out of it. That's like a bug, I think. Like that you shouldn't be allowed to do that in the game. That's not how the game should work. If I want to not do a quest I picked up, you should definitely be allowed to drop it. But anyway, that's it. Great, 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 great. All of greatness, the best greatness. You know, see you in season 1. I don't know what to tell you. It's gonna be great, man. I'm excited. And honestly, a lot of the reception to the problems we originally had are being addressed. Like, Mythic Plus being too hard, huge nerfs. Three separate posts about huge nerfs. I could have made a video on all three of them. I just decided not to because I didn't want to flood the channel with these types of posts. Big stuff. and they seem to be understanding it. They seem to be acknowledging it. Listen to go here. You know what you want to do now? If you have to watch this and you haven't done this already, go watch Chris Metzen talk about his involvement with the War Within. It's going to blow your mind. He is the reason that I have so much confidence in this franchise moving forward. And I didn't talk about it in this video until right now. But the other thing that I almost never care about or ever comment on is the story and the lore. War Within story is the best thing I've ever experienced in this game. Now, that's coming from somebody who typically doesn't even care, like literally don't even watch cutscenes, don't even read quests. I don't care, okay? This is the best I've ever seen. So you can take that however you want to take that, but to me, when I'm saying that, what that means, it made me care. It's so good, it made me care. All of these little stay a while and listen, the situation with Magni, so good. So good. Go play this expansion. Seriously. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon. I don't know what's gonna happen with the stream and everything, but I'll be back. See you guys soon.